Good morning, grandkids. Today it's time for another chapter in The Young Wizard Dorkly in a land far, far away. This is chapter 19. Sorry my hair looks like such a mess, but I guess we'll both just have to live with it because I can't fix it. The king was sitting on his throne once more, attending to a few more citizens, but his mind was totally on tonight's party. Soon Dorkly hurried in and stood to the right and slightly behind King Conley. The king acknowledged him with a slight nod and kept on talking to the citizen before him. The citizen was complaining of many missing chickens from his yard. "Well," Conley said, "have you put up proper fences to confine them?" "Yes, my king, but it seems that one area of the wire has been tampered with, and there is quite a large opening. It looks as if they may have wandered through there and outside my farmstead. But, sire, I have looked for them, and no one around me has gathered any in. It also looks like wagon wheel tracks just outside the fence opening. I'm beginning to believe that they've been stolen, sire." The king called over a guard and told him to go with the citizen and find out what has happened and to get his chickens back and the culprit thrown in prison. The next citizen was a dark-eyed, grizzled man who was complaining that the prices for his goods were only a little higher than others, but he was about to lose his business because too many people had stopped buying from him. At this point, Dorkly leaned down and whispered to the king that he had used a spell on the man and that he was lying, that he had raised his prices way too high, more than what the king had set as the standard. Conley nodded and then spoke to the guard. "The man is a thief and a liar. Take him away to a prison cell." He then dismissed the guards and Dorkly, but before Dorkly could leave, Conley turned to him and asked about Gorman. "I have 2 healers with him and left him sleeping potions and for his stomach pain. He will be able to sleep this evening and through the night," Dorkly said. "I will look in on him first thing in the morning before coming to the courtroom. I'm assuming that's where you will be, if able, after the party tonight," Dorkly laughed. "Yes, Dorkly, that's where I'll be," Conley said sourly. The evening finally came, and the servants had finished setting up the large court before the throne, with tables and chairs, and other servants were bringing out place settings, fruits, and cheeses. Of course, there was lots to drink. Farther to one side, the musicians were just warming up, as the guards at the palace doors were opening up to all the citizens who lived within the outer court walls. Those who lived within the palace were to sit down at their places immediately around either side of the throne, leaving the wide-open center for dancing. The king, with Dorkly, his 3 children, and Dermis and Othello's fiancés, were seated first at the first table in front and to the right of the throne. At this dinner party, the tables were all covered in white lace tablecloths, clear crystal glasses and dishes with silver utensils, and candle holders with blue candles. The chandeliers were all filled with blue candles, as well as all the wall sconces. As the king's family sat, the musicians began to play, and the others who dwelt inside the palace spires sat down. Then all the citizens living within the large outside palace gates were seated as they were ushered inside. There was a lot of mingling and laughter and music. The king took the opportunity to pull Dorkly aside before he could make his way to the foot of the table and asked him how Gorman was doing. Right now, he's sleeping the night away. There are 2 healers with him, and I instructed them to stay there through the night. I'll slip in before I retire tonight, Dorkly responded. Okay, sit down and keep a wizardly eye on things, the king said with a smile. Find out what these parties are always like for your dad. You will remain by my side, or nearby, for the evening, but after I leave you can chase after the girls, and the king laughed. Dorkly gave a roll with his eyes and went to the foot of the table and sat down. When the king finally saw that everyone had been ushered in and the guards were closing the palace doors, he stood and moved out onto the floor in front of his throne. 2 priests came and stood nearby on either side and rang bells to silence all the guests. They then offered up prayers to their gods for good spirits, rejoicing, and a safe evening for all. When they had left the floor, King Connolly motioned for his family to come and join him. You all know my daughter Donella, he said as he took her hand and kissed her on her brow, but I would also like to introduce you to a man whom I'm sure many of you know, William Farthington. This man is soon to become my daughter's husband and my son-in-law. And he raised both their hands up high as all the cheering and whistling started to fill the large hall. When they all began to settle down, the king said, "Now for my second announcement. You all know my son, Dermis," and he reached to the side and clasped his son's hand in both of his own. He also will be getting married to this lovely lady standing by his side, my future daughter-in-law, Mandy Rollendorf, and he raised their hands up high as all the cheering and whistling filled the room once more. As the noise died down, the king put his arm around the young man who had moved up to his other side. And of course, you all know my other son, Dumont, who will be remaining single, it seems. Everyone laughed, and some hollered out some teasing comments. The king went on. You'd think that being twins, they would have found the girl of their dreams at the same time. But this one has his nose stuck in a book too much to be on the lookout. Everyone roared with laughter and started making suggestions. To any of you young ladies out there, the king went on, I just want to say, flirting is legal, and everyone roared. The family went to sit down, and the king motioned to the magicians. As the music started, he loudly said, "Let's eat and dance the night away." And then he turned and sat down with much mirth and clinking of glasses and music around him and his family. So that's the end of this chapter with the big dinner and party and the announcement of the 2 weddings. So we shall see how everything fares after this, and I will see you next Friday for the next chapter of the story. Bye-bye, grandkids.